She got into a stranger's car, and 6 years later, she saw his face again on a documentary about serial killers.
It happened on a long, empty stretch of American highway. No streetlights, no houses, just darkness, and the occasional passing car. She had been hitchhiking for hours. Most drivers ignored her. Some slowed down, then kept going, until one finally stopped. The man inside looked normal, mid-30s, calm, soft-spoken. He smiled when she approached. "Need a ride?" She hesitated, just for a second, then got in. At first, everything felt fine. The radio played quietly. The man asked simple questions. Where she was headed, where she came from. Nothing unusual, nothing threatening. But then, something changed. It wasn't what he said. It was how he went quiet. Too quiet. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. His eyes stopped blinking as much. The road ahead became darker, more isolated. No other cars in sight. Then, without warning, he turned off the highway. The car slowed. Gravel crunched under the tires. Trees surrounded them now, thick, dense, silent. She felt it, that instinct, that sudden, overwhelming certainty. Something was wrong. He pulled the car to a stop. Engine still running. Headlights cutting through the trees. He didn't look at her, didn't say a word. That's when she ran. She threw the door open and sprinted into the woods. Branches tore at her arms. Her shoes slipped on dirt and leaves. She didn't look back. She couldn't. Finally, she hid, crouched behind a tree, heart pounding so loud she thought he could hear it. She waited. Seconds felt like hours. Then, she saw the headlights shift. The car reversed, turned, and drove away. Just like that. No chase, no shouting, no gunshot. He just left. She stayed hidden for a long time, too afraid to move, too afraid it was a trick. Eventually, a bread delivery truck passed by on a nearby road. The driver saw her, shaken, covered in dirt, barely able to speak. He took her to the nearest police station. She told them everything. The man, the road, the sudden change. But there was no name, no license plate, no way to find him. The case went cold, and life moved on. Years passed, 6 years. One night, she was at home, watching TV, a true crime documentary. It was about serial killers, men who hunted strangers, men who picked up victims on highways. Then, they showed his face. Her entire body froze. It was him, the same man, the same eyes, the same calm expression, now sitting in a prison interview room, speaking casually about his crimes. He described picking up women, gaining their trust, driving them somewhere isolated, and then he would kill them, again and again. The woman watching the TV realized something horrifying. She had been one of them, a victim who got away. But one question remained. Why did he let her go? She had done everything right, trusted her instinct, ran at the right moment. But that wasn't the only reason. Later, she learned something disturbing, something biological. Extreme fear, can trigger a physical response in the body. In rare cases, women can begin to menstruate suddenly, triggered by trauma and stress. Some investigators believe that may have been what happened, and for reasons no one fully understands, that may have been enough to make a killer lose interest.
She didn't escape because she was stronger or faster. She escaped because something inside her body made her no longer worth killing. He picked up a stranger on an empty highway. A quiet man. Polite. Calm. Normal. The next morning, he saw that same face on the news. Wanted for murdering his own parents. In the vast stretches of the American Midwest, long highways cut through miles of empty land. At night, those roads become something else entirely. Quiet, isolated, unforgiving. Truck drivers, late-night commuters, and travelers often share one unspoken rule: don't stop for strangers. But sometimes, one decision can stay with you forever. In the late 1990s, a man, whose name was never publicly released, was driving home after a long shift. It was close to midnight. The road was nearly empty. Just miles of darkness, broken only by his headlights. He had driven that route hundreds of times before. Nothing unusual ever happened. Until that night. Up ahead, on the shoulder of the road, he saw someone. A man. Standing still. No car. No luggage. Just waiting. At first, he drove past. That was the smart thing to do. But something didn't sit right. The man hadn't waved, hadn't moved, just stood there, watching the road. A few miles ahead, the driver slowed down, then stopped. He told himself, maybe he needs help. Maybe his car broke down. So he turned around and drove back. When he pulled up beside the man, the stranger leaned down to the window. He looked normal. Mid-30s, clean, calm. His voice was steady. Mind giving me a ride? No urgency. No fear. Just quiet confidence. The driver hesitated, but unlocked the door. The man got in, and that's when the silence began. The kind of silence that feels heavy, unnatural. The driver tried to make conversation. Where you headed? The man replied softly, just up the road. Nothing more. No small talk. No questions. Just staring ahead. Minutes passed. The road stretched endlessly into darkness. The driver began to feel it. That unease. Not fear exactly, but something close to it. He noticed something strange. The man never looked at him. Not once. Just forward. Like he was thinking about something. Or remembering something. Something heavy. Then, suddenly, here, the man spoke. You can drop me here. There was nothing around. No houses, no lights, just darkness. The driver slowed the car. "You sure?" The man nodded. He opened the door, stepped out, and without another word, he walked into the darkness and disappeared. The next morning, the driver sat in his kitchen, coffee in hand, the television flickering quietly in the background. Then, a breaking news alert. Authorities were searching for a suspect, a man wanted for a brutal double murder. His own parents. The driver looked up and froze. It was him, the hitchhiker. The same face, the same calm expression, the same silence. The report said the murders had happened just hours before the man was seen fleeing the area. Authorities believed he was traveling on foot, possibly hitchhiking.
The driver's hands began to shake. He replayed the night in his head. The silence, the stillness, the way the man never looked at him. He realized something terrifying. He hadn't given a ride to a stranded man. He had given a ride to someone who had just killed his own family. The driver later contacted authorities, but by then, the man was already gone, vanished into the vast emptiness of the Midwest, never seen again. To this day, the driver says one thing still haunts him the most. It wasn't what the man said, it was what he didn't. Because sometimes, the most dangerous people are the ones who don't need to speak at all.
Please like and subscribe, and we'll be back for more soon.
There are stories truck drivers tell each other late at night. Stories they swear are true. This is one of the few that nobody laughs at, because the man who lived it never drove that road again. In the summer of 1987, a long-haul truck driver named Andre was making his usual overnight route along the coastal highways outside Marseille. Andre had been driving for over 20 years. He wasn't easily shaken. He'd seen accidents, breakdowns, strange hitchhikers, even the occasional drunk stumbling onto the road at night, but nothing like this. It was close to 2:15 a.m. when he saw her, standing just beyond a dim street lamp on a quiet stretch of road. A young woman, maybe in her early 20s, long dark hair, pale skin, wearing a light-colored dress that moved slightly in the wind, and a scarf, a soft patterned scarf wrapped around her neck. Andre slowed his truck. At first, he thought it was strange. Nobody stood alone on that road at that hour. There were no nearby houses, no bus stops, just empty asphalt and silence. He rolled down his window. "Are you okay?" he asked. The woman stepped closer. Her voice was calm, soft. "Can you take me to Rue Paradis?" That was in the city, not too far from his route. Andre hesitated for a moment, then unlocked the door. She climbed in. At first, everything seemed normal. She sat quietly in the passenger seat, hands folded in her lap. Her skin looked unusually pale under the dashboard light, but Andre assumed it was just the lighting. He tried to make conversation. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he said. She turned slightly toward him. "I'm used to it." There was something about the way she said it. Not defensive, not emotional, just factual. They drove in silence for a while. The road stretched endlessly ahead, the truck's engine humming steadily. Then Andre noticed something strange. The temperature inside the cabin had dropped. Significantly, he adjusted the heater. Nothing changed. He glanced at her. Her breath wasn't visible, but his was. Condensation forming with every exhale. A cold that didn't belong. "Are you cold?" he asked. She didn't respond immediately. Then quietly, "No, I'm fine." Her eyes were fixed on the road ahead, unblinking. A few minutes later, Andre reached for his coffee. When he looked back, she was gone. The passenger seat was empty. The door was still locked. No sound, no movement, no sign that she had ever opened it. Andre slammed the brakes. The truck screeched to a stop in the middle of the road. His heart pounded as he turned, searching the cabin. Nothing, just the faint scent of something old. And the scarf. Her scarf lay neatly folded on the seat, exactly where she had been sitting. Andre didn't understand. He stepped out of the truck, scanning the dark road. No footsteps, no figure walking away. Just silence, and the distant sound of waves crashing against the coast. After a long moment, he got back inside, his hands trembling. He stared at the scarf, then at the road ahead, and made a decision. He would finish the delivery and forget this ever happened. But something about the way she had spoken, Rue Paradis, the address felt important. Against his better judgment, he drove there. It was nearly 3:10 a.m. when he arrived. The city was quiet. Streetlights flickered as he parked in front of a modest apartment building. He sat there for a moment, holding the scarf, debating whether to knock. Finally, he did. A few seconds passed, then the door opened. An older woman stood there, her expression cautious, tired. "Yes?" she asked. Andre hesitated. I think I gave your daughter a ride." The woman's face changed. Confusion, then something deeper. "What do you mean?" He held up the scarf. "She asked me to bring her here. She was just with me, but she disappeared." The woman didn't take the scarf. Instead, she stared at it. Her hands slowly began to shake. Behind her, a man appeared, older, quiet. "What is it?" he asked. She stepped aside. "Show him," Andre said softly. The man looked at the scarf and went pale. "Where did you get this?" he asked. Andre swallowed. "She left it in my truck." The couple exchanged a look, one of those looks that doesn't need words. Then the woman turned and walked inside. "Come in." Andre followed them. The apartment was simple, clean, quiet, but something felt frozen, like time had stopped inside. On a small table in the living room, there was a photograph. Andre stopped. His chest tightened. It was her. The same woman, same face, same scarf. But the photo was old, faded at the edges. "This is our daughter," the man said, his voice low, controlled. "She died in 1982. Andre felt his legs weaken, "That's not possible," he said. "I just spoke to her." The woman returned, holding something in her hand, a newspaper clipping. She handed it to him. A headline: "Young woman killed in motorcycle accident, Rue Paradis." Andre stared at the image beneath it. The same face, the same scarf. "She was wearing it that night," the mother whispered. "We buried her with it." Silence filled the room. Heavy, unavoidable. Andre slowly looked down at the scarf in his hands. If they buried her with it, then how? His hands began to tremble. "I didn't know," he said quietly. "I thought she was just lost." The father nodded slowly. "She always hated being alone," he said. A long pause. Then Andre asked the question he didn't want the answer to. "Does this happen often?" The couple looked at each other again. The mother spoke. "Only on certain nights." Andre felt a chill run through him. "What nights?" he asked. The father stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "The night she died." Andre's breath caught. "What day was that?" the mother answered. "July 14th. Andre's stomach dropped. He checked his watch. It was past midnight, which meant it was already July 14th. Again, the room suddenly felt colder. Andre turned toward the door. "I should go," he said. The couple didn't stop him. As he stepped outside, the street was empty, still, silent. He walked back to his truck slowly, each step heavier than the last. When he opened the door, he froze. The passenger seat was no longer empty. The scarf was gone. And for just a second, in the reflection of the windshield, he saw her, sitting there, looking at him, smiling, not warmly, not kindly, but like someone who had finally made it home. Andre never drove that route again. Some say, on certain nights in Marseille, if you're alone on the road, you might see a young woman standing under a streetlight, wearing a scarf, waiting for someone kind enough to take her back to the place she never left. Some stories don't end when people die. They just keep repeating. If you were driving that road, would you stop? Or would you keep going and pretend you never saw her?
Please like and subscribe, and we'll be back for more soon.